Why Jack Elam and Henry Fonda couldn't stand each other. Jack Elam was born William Scott Elam on November 13, 1920 in Miami, Arizona. Was one of the most instantly recognizable character actors in American film and television history, particularly renowned for his extensive work in westerns. Though he appeared in a wide variety of roles throughout his career, he became iconic for portraying villains, outlaws, and eccentric misfits, roles to which he brought a uniquely menacing yet oddly endearing presence. With his signature wanderangy caused by an injury he sustained during a childhood fight with a pencil and his rugged features, Elam carved a niche in Hollywood that made him a beloved figure among fans of the Western genre. Jack's early life was marked by hardship and perseverance. His mother died when he was just a child, and he was sent to live with various relatives while his father tried to support the family during the Great Depression. Despite the turbulence of his youth, Elam excelled academically and was known for his intelligence and sharp wit. He eventually graduated from Santa Monica Junior College and also attended the University of Miami, where he studied business. Before entering the entertainment industry, he held a number of different jobs, including time spent as a bookkeeper and an auditor for the Standard Oil Company. He also worked as an accountant for the William Boyd Agency, where he became acquainted with several entertainment professionals. A connection that helped launch his film career. Elam entered Hollywood not through traditional auditions or theater work, but via a more unconventional path. He began his film career in the late 1940s, initially behind the scenes, but soon transitioned into acting. He landed his first uncredited film role in the 1949 film She Said No. However, it was his role as the gunslinging henchman in Rawhide 1951, starring Tyrone Power and Susan Hayward, that marked his early breakout. Throughout the 1950s and 1960 seconds, Elam became one of the go-to actors for villainous roles in westerns, appearing in dozens of films, including High Noon, 1952, Gunfight at the OK Corral, 1957, and The Common Caros, 1961. His sinister, drawing voice and unpredictable screen presence made him an unforgettable antagonist in countless pseudos and standoffs. Arguably one of his most iconic roles came in Sergio Leone's epic spaghetti western Once Upon a Time in the West, 1968, where he appeared in the unforgettable opening sequence as one of three gunmen waiting for Charles Bronson's character at a lonely train station. With virtually no dialogue and relying purely on physical expression and atmospheric tension, Elam's performance in that scene is still hailed by film scholars and fans alike as a masterclass in cinematic storytelling. Despite his reputation as the perennial bad guy, Jack Elam was a skilled and versatile actor who could effortlessly shift from menace to mirth. In the 1970s, he began to parody his on-screen persona, demonstrating a remarkable comedic talent that audiences hadn't seen before. One of his most memorable performances came in Mel Brooks's Support Your Local Sheriff, 1969, and its follow-up, Support Your Local Gunfighter, 1971, in which Elam delighted audience by playing roles that poked fun at his usual tough guy image. His ability to transition from the dark and brooding outlaw to the grizzled but lovable comic relief extended his career well into the 1980s and earned him a new generation of fans. Elam's television work was equally prolific. He made guest appearances in nearly every major Western television show of the 1950s, 60s, and 70 seconds, including Gunsmoke, Bonanza, The Rifleman, The Lone Ranger, and Have Gun Will Travel. He also had recurring roles on shows like The Dakotas and Temple Houston, and he starred in the short-lived comedy Western series Easy Street in the 1980s. In 1981, Jack Elam brought his signature eccentric charm to the role of Dr. Nicholas Van Helsing in the popular action comedy film The Cannonball Run, cast alongside an ensemble of Hollywood heavyweights including Burt Reynolds, Dom DeLuise, Roger Moore, and Farrah Fawcett. Elam portrayed a wildly unorthodox and hilariously unhinged medical professional. His character, a so-called crazed proctologist, was part of a misfit racing team attempting to win a clandestine cross-country road race. With his wilded expressions, ragged white coat, and chaotic bedside manner, Elam delivered one of the film's most memorably comedic performances. A sharp departure from the grizzled gunslingers and villains he was best known for in westerns. The role allowed Elam to flex his comedic timing and reinforce his versatility as an actor in the twilight of his career. So well received was his performance that he was asked to reprise the role 3 years later in the 1984 sequel Cannonball Run 2. Once again, stealing scenes with his zany antics and offbeat delivery amid another star-studded cast. These two films introduced Elam to a new generation of viewers, proving that he could thrive in comedy as effortlessly as he had in drama and westerns. In 1986, Elam continued to diversify his body of work by playing the character Charlie Hankins in the independently produced film The Aura Encounter. The movie, often described as a weird western, blended elements of science fiction and historical myth. Set in 1897 Texas and inspired by a real-life legend about a supposed UFO crash in the town of Aurora, the film followed the townspeople's reaction to a mysterious alien visitor. Elam's character Charlie Hankins was the local drunk, a stock actor in many westerns. But Elam's portrayal went beyond cliché, imbuing Hankins with both humor and unexpected empathy. While The Aurora Encounter remains a little-known cult film, it proved to be a deeply personal and meaningful experience for Elam of screen. During filming in Texas, Elam met and developed a profound connection with an 11-year-old boy named Mickey Hayes. Mickey suffered from progeria, a rare genetic disorder that causes rapid aging in children. What began as an on-set acquaintance quickly blossomed into a deep and enduring friendship that would continue for the rest of Mickey's life. The two formed a bond marked by genuine affection and mutual respect, transcending age and circumstance. Elam became a kind of surrogate grandfather figure to Mickey, often visiting him and remaining in contact with the boy's family. The extraordinary nature of the relationship was chronicled in the 1987 television documentary I Am Not a Freak, which shed light on both Mickey's life with progeria and his unlikely and heartfelt friendship with the veteran actor. The documentary, which aired on national television, aimed to raise awareness and compassion for those living with rare conditions while showing the transformative power of human connection. Elam, a man known in Hollywood for playing hardened outlaws and comedic oddballs, was revealed in the documentary to be a deeply compassionate and tender soul. On a memorable moment, Elam was quoted as saying, "You know, I've met a lot of people, but I've never met anybody that got next to me like Mickey." Though the origin of this quote is debated and may be apocryphal, it nevertheless captures the emotional impact the relationship had on Elam and those around them. Their friendship stands as one of the most touching and humanizing chapters in Elam's life. That same year, Elam took on a new challenge in television, co-starring in the NBC sitcom East Street. In the show, he played Alvin Billy Stevenson, the rough-edged but lovable uncle of the show's main character, L.K. McGuire, played by Lonnie Anderson. The sitcom focused on the clash between high society and blue-collar sensibilities as L.K., a former showgirl who had recently come into wealth, attempted to blend her eccentric family with her new upper-class lifestyle. Elam's portrayal of Billy Stevenson was delightfully gruff and endearing, adding heart and humor to the series. Although the show was short-lived and lasted only one season, Elam's performance was praised for bringing warmth and authenticity to an otherwise offbeat premise. It was yet another example of how Elam, then in his late 60s, continued to remain relevant and dynamic in the entertainment industry, unafraid to embrace new types of roles. In 1988, Elam teamed up with country music legend Willie Nelson for the made-for-television Western movie, Where the Hell's That Gold? The film, which aired on CBS, was a comedic adventure set in the Old West, revolving around a group of outlaws in search of hidden treasure. Elam played a grizzled, wisecracking sidekick, another twist on the character types that had defined his earlier career. His on-screen chemistry with Nelson, who played the lead role, added a level of camaraderie and levity to the production, making it a nostalgic treat for fans of classic westerns and country western culture alike. The movie further demonstrated Elam's enduring appeal as a character actor and his ability to adapt his old-school western persona to modern formats and sensibilities. In 1994, in recognition of his enduring legacy and countless contributions to the western genre, Jack Elam was inducted into the Hall of Great Western Performers at the National Cowboy and Western Heritage Museum in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. The honor placed him among the elite figures in the history of Western film and television alongside icons like John Wayne, Gary Cooper, and Clint Eastwood. The induction acknowledged not only his distinctive screen presence with his crooked eye, growly voice, and unpredictable energy, but also his versatility in portraying both menacing villains and lovable eccentrics. For audiences and peers alike, Elam embodied the spirit of the American West, tough, unpredictable, humorous, and ultimately human. This recognition served as a fitting capstone to a career that had spanned more than 4 decades, during which Elam had transformed from actor known primarily for playing gunslingers to a beloved icon whose work transcended genre and generations. Though Jack Elam never reached leading man status in the traditional sense, he became an indispensable fixture of Hollywood's golden age of westerns. He was respected not only for his acting talents, but also for his professionalism, generosity, and sense of humor off-screen. Fellow actors frequently described him as a warm, kind-hearted man who embraced his unique appearance and made the most of the roles it earned him. His ability to turn what many would consider a disadvantage, his wanderangy, into a trademark strength stands as a testament to his resourcefulness and creativity. Jack Elam's personal life was marked by 2 long and devoted marriages that deeply shaped the man behind the familiar screen persona. His first marriage was to Jean Louise Ehigert, a relationship that began in 1937 when Elam was still in the early stages of adulthood and long before his rise to fame in Hollywood. Not much is publicly documented about Jean Louise, but their marriage endured for nearly 24 years, spanning the challenging years of Elam's early career, including his transition from working as an accountant to pursuing acting full-time. The couple weathered many hardships together, especially during the periods when Elam struggled to gain a foothold in the film industry. Jean Louise was said to have been a steady and supportive presence in Elam's life, offering emotional grounding during his years of fluctuating fortunes. Tragically, their long union came to an end when Jean died from colon cancer on January 24, 1961. Her death was a devastating loss for Elam, who had spent nearly a quarter of a century with her. The toll of watching his wife suffer through a painful illness and eventually lose her battle with cancer had a profound emotional impact on him, one that he rarely spoke of in public, but that friends and colleagues acknowledged left a lasting impression on his character and demeanor. Only 7 months after Jean Louise's passing in August 1961, Jack Elam found companionship again when he married Margaret M. Jennison. The swiftness of the second marriage might seem surprising to some, but those close to Elam suggested that Margaret brought a renewed sense of stability, companionship, and comfort to a man who had experienced great emotional loss. Margaret was not only his wife, but also his confidant and life partner, standing by him through the most active years of his film and television career. As Elam's notoriety as a character actor grew, especially for his portrayals of villains and comic western characters, Margaret provided a quiet, steadfast support system away from the limelight. Together, they built a private life that balanced the demands of the entertainment industry with a grounded domestic existence. Their marriage endured for more than 4 decades, a remarkable feat in any circumstance, but especially so in Hollywood, where relationships often falter under the pressure of fame and public scrutiny. In the vast landscape of Hollywood's golden era, few characters stood out with the rugged eccentricity and unmistakable presence of Jack Elam. With his wild wanderangy, snarling grin, and ability to slide between comedic buffoonery and chilling villain, Elam carved out a place for himself in westerns like no other. But beyond his craggy exterior and unmistakable on-screen charm, there was an actor Jack Elam is said to have loathed with a fiery, unrelenting passion: Henry Fonda. To Elam, Henry Fonda represented everything he resented about the Hollywood establishment. Fonda was the darling of prestigious, often cast as the noble sheriff, the principled man of the frontier, or the quiet, introspective either. Elam, on the other hand, was pigeonholed into roles as the unchaventhig, the twitchy outlaw, or the bumbling henchman. Fonda's calm, polished demeanor and tall, noble stature seemed to mock everything Elam had fought against in his rise from bit parts to memorable character roles. In interviews, Elam would bristle at the mention of actors who took themselves too seriously, and though he rarely named names, those close to him claimed that Fonda was at the top of that list. The tension may have reached its peak during the filming of Sergio Leone's Upon a Time in the West, 1968, where the 2 actors shared the screen in one of the most legendary westerns ever made. In a bold move that shocked audiences, Fonda was cast complete elegant type as the cold-blooded killer Frank. This was a space Jack Elam had long dominated. Watching the silver-haired, blue-eyed Fonda step in toe boots of a merciless villain Henry Elam, who believed Leon had stolen a role that should have been his. Leon, ever the provocator, had cast Fonda Presley because audiences would expect the iconic good guy to murder a child in the opening scene. But to Elam, it was more than a creative decision. It was a betrayal of genre authenticity and a slap in the face. Elam, who appeared in the film's unforgettable opening sequence as one of the three gunmen waiting for Charles Bronson at the train station, was relegated to a silent, albeit memorable role. The scene, famously quiet and drenched in suspense, was a masterclass in Leon's visual storytelling, but for Elam it only deepened the wound. While he sweated under the desert sun with a fly crawling across his face in agonizing close-up, Fawn